Darth Vader never said, "Luke, I am your father." The Monopoly Man never had a monocle. Pikachu never had a black tip on his tail. And if any of this feels wrong to you, it means you remember a world that no longer exists. This is not about memory. This is about replacement. At some point, something edited reality and left a few witnesses behind. Every time you feel that sudden discomfort when people swear something was always different, that is not confusion. That is recognition. Your brain is detecting a deleted version of the world. The disturbing part is not that reality changed. The disturbing part is that most people accepted it instantly. They call it the Mandela Effect because millions of people remembered a death that officially never happened. But the name is only a distraction. The real phenomenon is not collective confusion. It is synchronized correction. A forced agreement between millions of minds after a timeline is overwritten. When the change is small, adaptation is easy. A movie quote, a logo, a cartoon detail, but every correction leaves a residue, a faint signal that something was altered. People who feel that signal are the ones who cannot fully synchronize. They do not just remember differently. They feel that something is missing. The first thing that disappears in a rewrite is proof. Old recordings update themselves. Photos change. Documents replace their own past. What remains is only memory, and memory is easy to discredit. When you insist that something used to be different, you are told you are mistaken. That is not an accident. That is the immune system of a corrected reality. It attacks witnesses by making them doubt their own minds. Over time, most surrender. The world remains stable. The fracture stays buried. But long before this phenomenon became an internet term, it was already documented inside restricted facilities that no longer exist on any public map. The earliest shifts were not about brands or celebrities. They were about space itself. Corridors changing length. Shadows pointing in impossible directions. Objects vanishing without being moved. The staff was ordered to record everything and never speak. Those who questioned too loudly were removed from duty. Some resigned, some vanished. The anomalies always followed the same sequence. Reality would change first. Memory would correct itself seconds later. The brain would adapt as if the old version had never existed. But a small number of subjects failed to update perfectly. They felt a delay, a pressure behind the eyes, a metallic taste in the mouth, a moment where the air felt heavy and artificial. These people became permanent witnesses to a version of the world that was no longer permitted to remain. According to the sealed notes, these shifts are not random. They are iterative. Controlled edits meant to measure how much reality can be rewritten without causing mass instability. Each Mandela Effect case is not a failure. It is a successful test. A version of the world was replaced and accepted without resistance. Every forgotten detail is a rehearsal for a larger correction. And it did not stop with symbols. The archive describes coastlines that no longer match old satellite data. Weather patterns erased from historical records. Buildings removed from photographs decades before they were demolished. Streets that exist on old maps but cannot be found today. Cemeteries missing names that families still remember visiting. These are not inconsistencies. These are deletions. After a containment failure, something else began to appear. The observers. Staff described figures standing in rooms that were empty seconds earlier, not reflections. Not shadows, presence. Always watching, never moving. Each time a shift occurred, a new observer appeared. They were not part of the experiment. They were measuring its success. Outside the facility, people report similar sensations during Mandela moments. The feeling of being watched from behind. Sudden waves of fear with no source. Dreams of endless corridors and locked doors. Familiar objects feeling foreign. These are not psychological accidents. They are side effects of desynchronization. The archive states that reality is not rewritten all at once. It is adjusted in layers to avoid detection. First details, then records, then environments, then identity. Some people occasionally feel that they were different before. A different personality, a different path. They are not imagining it. They are remembering a version of themselves that was removed. Memory loss plays a role in this process. Not as a disease, as erosion. The human mind can only rewrite itself a limited number of times before fragments disappear permanently. That is why forgetting has become so common. It is not just stress, it is wear from constant correction. The final surviving documents warn of a large-scale rewrite approaching. Not another logo, not another misquote. A structural reset that will affect identity anchors, faces, relationships, personal history. The observers are already increasing in frequency. They appear closer to those who resist synchronization. They study reaction time. They measure how quickly a mind surrenders. During major corrections, resistance becomes dangerous. People who fail to adapt experience blackouts, sudden memory collapse, disorientation, personality shifts that feel immediate and permanent. When they recover, the world feels normal again. Too normal. The wrongness is smoothed over. If you sometimes feel that your memories do not match your surroundings, that is not paranoia. That is a fragment that failed to erase completely. A scar from a previous version of existence. Most people never feel this. Their synchronization is flawless. The Mandela Effect is not about remembering wrong. It is about remembering too much. If it were only psychology, the observers would not exist. If it were coincidence, it would not follow patterns. If it were error, it would not require correction. Something updates reality. Something monitors the transition. And something decides who adapts and who does not. If you are hearing this, your synchronization is imperfect. And now it knows that. You're not alone. You are among your own.